We came across this concept, Pet Butler, which at the time was just pet waste removal. We've got vision for this where it's not going to just be about pet waste. So if you could start tapping into some of those things as well, you could find exponential growth in those markets.
Before you explore franchise options, take a few minutes to understand how you are wired. The assessment link is below. Welcome to Franchise Focus. Today's episode is all about the evolving pet service industry and why recurring and needs-based businesses continue to attract so much attention from entrepreneurs. I'm joined by Mark Potocki from Pet Butler, a brand that has been serving pet owners since 1988 and franchising since 2005. Pet Butler started in pest waste removal, but today offers a broader suite of services, including pet sitting, dog walking, pet shuttle services, and commercial and pet waste management. So today we're digging into what's actually driving growth in this category, who succeeds in this model, and how Pet Butler has expanded far beyond what most people think of when they hear pooper scooper business. So welcome, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing great, Laura. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Um,
looking
you know,
forward to it.
yeah, this should be exciting. I have to tell you, I was a little jealous coming into the call. I woke up this morning in Chicago. It was in the 30s, and I know you're down in Florida enjoying the spring seasons. Send some sunlight onto me.
If I could, I would. That's for sure. We have plenty of it. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you joined Pet Butler and whatnot.
Sure. So I have been with Spring Green, which is a lawn pest and tree care company, since way back in 2006. And in 2017, we were looking to expand services. And we came across this concept, Pet Butler, which at the time was just pet waste removal. But what we loved about it was the fact that it fit a lot of buckets we were looking for with expansion. Number one, a target on residential homes where the customer did not have to be home to provide the service. Number two, it was route-based. We knew from the other business that building density improved an owner's bottom line. And number three, there weren't a lot of materials that were needed. There weren't a lot of heavy pieces of equipment that were needed. So in terms of infrastructure support, it was a fairly low-cost investment with a lot of opportunity for recurring revenue. So it really checked the box for what we were looking for. We came in as a franchise owner first to kind of get understanding of the business and then also to see how our existing infrastructure could support. And from that and the success we had in 2019, we had the confidence to go ahead and actually invest in becoming the franchisor for the system. Interesting enough, and you learn, I mean, with Spring Green, we're in our 50th season now. So we've been around for a while. We're a family-owned business. We've tested other things. And like several of those things, we were totally wrong. This did not bolt right into a Spring Green business. The guys performing the services on the lawns wanted nothing to do with picking up pet waste. So although we were wrong there, we were right on the concept. The business itself was great. We felt it had strong legs. So we kept it as its own standalone. We were able to adopt the infrastructure that we already had in place. And interesting enough, we talked to a consultant, Laura, when we bought the business, and he said the first thing he would do is change the name. And our president, James Young, pushed back at that. And he said, no. That's the short-sighted solution. We've got vision for this where it's not going to just be about pet waste. It's going to be, we have a goal to become a concierge suite of services that pet owners could take advantage of, with an idea of trying to become more of a membership subscription-based service provider instead of a transactional-based service.
Love that evolution. And I think this is a fabulous industry, great for people that want not an overly complicated and heavy equipment. And when you to scale, you can scale with minimal investment. But like you said, the density of your routes, it's so key to that. So that I'm sure helps a lot of owners. What kind of do owners come in looking to do this full time, or do you have both models, full time executive, or how do they run it?
Yeah, I think we're unique in franchising, but we would prefer for someone to come in to either have another existing business or have a full-time job with some flexibility around it. And I know that seems somewhat counterintuitive, But I'm going to talk for a second about one of the real challenges in our business and maybe provide some transparency around the curtain that I'm not trying to scare anyone away from, but I want to just add some truth serum to this. In your first year, if you make the investment and you come in, you might be really successful and you might fill your truck that's doing the pet waste removal. And that's great. But that means now you have to take the profit and reinvest it into another truck and hire an additional person and spend more marketing dollars to go fill the second truck. Now, you maybe haven't even paid off that first truck, depending upon how you financed. So now you've taken on even more debt service, and you kind of go through this ramp up that is probably consistent with a lot of home service businesses.
Mhm.
But because we have that additional infrastructure from Spring Green, we could handle every phone call that's inbound or outbound through our contact center. We handle all of the web leads for sales. We do on the marketing side all of the digital and print marketing on behalf of the franchise owners with execution and management of it. When a customer comes through the front door, we're able to make the sale and do the scheduling and do the routing and process the credit card where a customer prepays a month in advance so that that owner doesn't have to chase AR. So it really creates an opportunity for them to have this other business and maintain their focus, or keep a job and maintain the focus. Go hire an employee who's going to show up, take a tablet that's got the full route. It's going to be GPS tracked by the owner throughout the course of the day, but they can see how we're building. And one of the things we've done, Laura, is we don't say, hey, start with every service line on day one. What we've done is said, hey, start building a great foundation with pet waste removal. And we like that, not because it's necessarily the one that is the most fun, but we like it because it's got a weekly recurring revenue that builds a fantastic foundation. And as we develop that relationship, then maybe a year or so out, we'll start doing the pet care services. And even there, we're not going to say, let's do everything. Let's start with dog walking and some pet sitting. And a little bit like if someone's had a kid before, as that relationship develops with that pet sitter, they may look for you to take on even more responsibilities. Hey, can you water the plants while we're on vacation? Hey, can you take my dog to the vet or to the groomer? And now all of a sudden our pet shuttle is a part of it. All of these things are happening without having to spend a lot of additional marketing dollars, because we're now cross promoting into our vertical of pet waste removal, but we're also promoting into these other businesses that we can help that we're not competing with, like the doggy daycares, like the groomers, like the vets offices, who that shuttle service can definitely help as well. So a lot of neat ways of growing this while trying to protect that franchise owner's bottom line.
What do you find works in the marketing side of things? I mean, this is becoming a little more of a competitive field, but how do you find that works for you guys?
So by far, there's two things. There's really two types of markets. Number one, there's markets that already understand that the services that we offer are real and people are using them. So if it is a market where there are other pet waste providers out
Hmm.
there, we're going to enter and hit the ground running. And digital's definitely outperforming print, except for when it comes to certain promotional periods. So just becoming visible where if someone's in their social media and showing up, and it's a fun business. So a lot of videos and so on, just explaining the services we offer, work really well. The other thing is in snow melt season, and this is going to sound terribly gross, but you'll have a lot of customers that from October through March, they open their back door, they let the dogs run out, they go to the bathroom and they come back in and no one picks up and it accumulates. Well,
Yeah.
there is an accumulation fee for that first time pickup, but it gives
Hmm.
us an opportunity also to educate the homeowner that, hey, if you don't want this big fee on the front end, just use us annually and we can pick up all 52 weeks of the year. And that works out really well as well, because for the same amount of money, they could have clean yards throughout the entire season. So getting back to your question about the marketing, it's that piece, but then the local networking. So that is where a local owner really has to take ownership, whether it's them or one of their employees, but going to the farmers markets, going networking with the pet rescues, networking with the groomers and the doggy daycares like we talked about, just being visible, showing up at the dog park and doing yappy hours where we're giving pup cups. I mean, it really is a lifestyle piece where
Yeah.
some of our owners, they're doing those things anyhow and they're having fun and they're bringing their dogs with them and so on. And they're able to monetize an event that they would probably be doing anyhow. The combination of having it all is really how it comes together. And every market is somewhat unique because we don't have one target customer. So it's not like, well, we're only going to target baby boomers because physically they don't want to do it anymore. There's this
Right.
young generation of millennials coming up that they're never going to mow their lawn and they're never going to paint their own walls. I mean, I've got a daughter that's one of them and she outsources everything.
Yep.
And that's okay. But we're seeing this unique blend. And then somewhere in the middle is the dual income family and, this younger generation in between where instead of having kids, they're having pets. And so we've got such a broad dynamic that you have to have different channels to market to them. And then, Laura, not to be long winded, but once we've established that, we've got this whole next chapter of commercial customers that we can kind of tap into where every HOA and condo association, and you see the hotels that allow dogs, and they have pet
Yes.
waste stations that we can install. And anywhere you walk along a trail with a pet waste station, well, that could be us. So there, it just keeps going on and on and on. It all become unique verticals. And, our leadership, I think, had fantastic vision because what they were looking for, and we could do this being family owned, is instead of having a bunch of different franchise concepts under one umbrella, that an owner would have to have multiple franchise fees to get to these businesses. They
Yeah.
said, hey, let's be conservative, but let's roll it out and let's have one captain in each market steering the ship on all these services and let them build a team and infrastructure to really drive their revenue and give them a better bottom line.
How long do you typically wait or do the pet waste before you roll, or is there a certain number of customers, or what's the metrics you
Yeah, there's
use?
some data that'll support it, but it's usually about every year. So usually you take a year to establish the foundation and then you do the next piece. And then once you get into the pet care side and the pet sitting, then come year three, because nothing's too tricky. These are all fairly simple services. I think that the secret sauce is in the marketing and the routing and building the efficiencies and understanding how it all plays. It's got more to do with establishing that piece, and then you jump into the commercial because that really becomes its own sales
Yeah,
engine as well.
I would
A
imagine.
lot more networking on that as well.
Right, right. Would cities use your services? Because like cities put around all those pet waste. I could imagine they would rather outsource that, wouldn't they, than having
They
their own
would
employees?
absolutely love it, but what I want to preface that if it's a major metro market, the traffic will hurt the bottom line for that franchise owner. So we're more suburbia. Now,
Yes.
if it's a
Yeah.
mid-major market, some of those smaller cities, they work absolutely great and we've had tremendous success in those.
Okay.
So I do want to preface if like we don't go to downtown Chicago and we're sitting right here just because you're one traffic delay from just
Yeah.
blowing your day. So
Yeah.
the smaller cities, it can work well.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And then the beauty of the pet industry is, it's only going to continue to grow. And what helps entrench this and keep these customers for life? How long do you see people maintaining customers?
It's one of the really neat things with this business is we have, and by we, it really is that person on point that's providing the service has a unique opportunity to become a part of that family because of the trust that gets built when
Mm.
someone leaves to go on vacation and instead of boarding their dog, they say, hey, I trust Lisa and I trust Pet Butler so that when they're gone, they are getting pictures of, hey, your dog's now eating and now it's refilled and the dog's drinking water. Because, a lot of times the dogs get anxious and they may not eat. And then
Right.
they see the GPS tracking. And meanwhile, they're like, yeah, and I don't have to worry about kennel cough or I don't have to worry, like my dog's in the comfort of their own home. Well, through that, we develop very strong relationships. And it's interesting. We'll get notes or we'll even get phone calls when dogs pass away where, hey, wanted to let you know that my dog just passed away, but boy, she or he looked forward to seeing you every week. And we just want to say thank you. And if we ever get another dog, and we're not going to, but if we ever do, you're going to be our first call. So we see a lot of that. It's a fairly low cost investment as well. So this is one, because it is more of a subscription based, paid monthly. People get in the habit of using it, and it's not that it's overly expensive. It's not that a lot of times that they can't do it, but they just get in the habit, and it's not such a major expense that it's hurting the bank, even in these economic headwinds that are very real. Typically, we're going to retain these customers. And what's fun about it is you start finding more and more avenues to provide more services with the way we're structured and
Yeah,
even deepen those relationships.
it's fantastic. And what's the recruiting like in terms of employees for pet waste removal versus sitting?
Boy, another place we were wrong. We were thinking that our pet waste removal employees were going to be high school dropouts or people that just, for whatever reason, were struggling. And that's not the case. And it doesn't mean that we don't have some of those. We do. But they're usually people that have more attributes like, I don't want to be tied to a desk all day. I want the flexibility of being in the outdoors. I love the outdoors. I want to buy my own cup of coffee. I want to listen to whatever I have on the radio as I go
Yeah.
through my route, and I don't want someone staring behind my back while I'm at a desk. So a lot of times they're more introverted, but common theme is they're almost always dog lovers. So they find an appreciation even for the pet waste removal, where they start developing relationships at times with some of these pet owners. So that's really on the pet waste removal side. Totally different in a different type of employee, because those are full-time employees. The pet care are typically more of a part-time employee. So think of the college students who are looking for some extra spending money and either have afternoons with no classes or evenings that they're off. Weekends are fine. We have, maybe if it's a parent where it's a single income house and the other person's at home while the kids are at school, hey, I'll go make a couple extra bucks. And for the people that are going to the city and they need someone to walk their dog at lunchtime, and what we are able to do is to geo target where they're going to provide their pet care services so that they're not driving an hour to perform a 20-minute service. So you
Yeah.
have more employees, but we have our own app, and it is one where, a little bit like an open table. If you've used that with the restaurant, where you can
Yep.
see where there's availability, you could see time slots, and someone on the app can just book. And
Okay.
the other peace of mind that comes for the consumer is if you're hiring some kid locally to watch your dog while you're gone, what happens if they get sick? What happens
Yeah.
now? All of a sudden, is mom and dad coming into the house? Are they calling up a buddy that you've never met and they're coming into your house and you're entrusting them? Whereas what we've really worked hard to do is the relationship is going to be between the consumer and the brand Pet Butler in our team of people providing the services.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. So you beat me to the punch. That's excellent. And you talked a bit about some of the support services, but it is pretty broad. Can you walk through what you do again for the franchise owner and what
Yes.
you're looking for them to do?
And I know we're on limited time, so I'll be brief, but at the
You're
same
good.
point, I get really
We've got
excited
plenty of
with
time.
it. So when
Okay.
someone comes into our business, they're going to go through a training week here. And I will tell you, it's fun to just kind of watch the body language, because most of our franchise owners are always bouncing around and high energy, and they're fun people. So to sit in a classroom over the course of a week for these different meetings is a lot. But
Yeah.
because of so much that's happening, we are going to sit down, and it really all starts with a 3-year business plan. And what we want to do is to understand what's the vision of that new owner. Where are they trying to get to? Knowing, kind of like I talked about earlier, the need for continuous reinvestment during this ramp up phase. And once we establish what their goals are, then we back into a 3-year plan with clear, definable marketing investments, operational goals, and really understand the key performance indicators that go along with it. So that once they finish that week of training here, which includes some classroom, we also have our own company owned franchise location right here where we're sitting. So they
Okay.
get some real world experience, but then they're going to head home. And from there, we're going to have a support rep, their personal support rep, their business consultant's going to go in market so that they can start applying the things that they learned in the training week at their own home. I always laugh, these little sticky notes. If you want to put sticky notes of, hey, they said to do this, and put it on your computer, you can do that when we're in market with you. I won't show you my computer screens right now, but
Yeah.
notice I have that here.
Yeah.
From that, that gives us the key performance indicators so we can start going through daily and weekly calls, understanding, are we on track? Are we on plan with what we were expecting? And then in conjunction with that, they have peer groups. So both regional, where we talk with other franchise owners in calls within the region, and based on time frame, like, hey, these are groups that have kind of come in together. They may have some pain points as newbies, that someone that maybe's been in the region, but they've been around for 15 years. To them, it's old hat. So we have some segmented peer groups. The collective knowledge of the franchise system so important and is so valuable. Sometimes as an owner, you may say, hey, instead of calling my business consultant, I'm going to talk an owner that's been doing this for a while, and they've got some street cred with me, and see what they think. You will also have your own marketing account manager who is a conduit to all of the marketing that's taken place. And it's not uncommon for an owner to get a call, an inbound call, because we see something that's performing well even before they do. What's great is we're extremely data sensitive. We use Power BI. So the candidates, as they go through discovery processes with us, they're able to see how the business is performing extremely granularly. You could see what's the drive time between stops by employee. How much time are the employees staying on the lawn? You may have some that move real quick. You may have some that move real slow. You may have some that are super personable and they're going to spend way too long talking to the customer, forgetting about, hey, speed between stops is important. But at the same point, the brand loyalty that they're developing is outstanding. So there's always a fine line in between. But there's reporting there for the owners so that as they grow, they can have these weekly team meetings. So even though the business is fragmented and you've got employees going all over, you kind of pull it all in and it's unified because you're comparing metrics and you're talking about the wins and the losses for the week and so on. Or we also have what we call Pet Butler University, and it's online courses. And what the goal of it is so a new owner comes in and they really are responsible for building their business's culture, but there should be consistency in training. Every role in the business has its own online course. We kind of laugh because it also protects the owner, where, a driver can't say, hey, no one ever told me I had to lock the gate when I left. Well, no, you took the class. Here's the timestamp and your IP address. You knew about it. But, not to make fun of it, but that takes a lot of the burden off of the franchise owner. They know that their employees are getting drilled for consistency. Maybe even more important from a labor point of view is a lot of the people that come in looking to work for our franchise owners are thinking that they're just getting a job, and they're not really envisioning this being a career. But as they start jumping into Pet Butler University, they start seeing topics that can become unlocked over time so that they can develop their skill set. Maybe someone goes from being a scooper to learning about routing. And even though we typically do all the routing, if a bridge is out, we're not going to know about it here. They could go in and supersede our routing and become the team's routing manager. And then from there, they develop into the commercial salesperson. And maybe from there, they start becoming a community member because they know both sides of it. So they're doing more of event management. And now maybe they become the manager of the managers. Long story short, we took someone and developed a career path that really, really is important with that employee retention, especially in a labor force like today, where you just continue hearing some of the challenges of other businesses.
Absolutely amazing. That's fantastic to hear and so forward thinking, I think. I'm sure that retention is greatly improved from that. What are some misconceptions people have about this business?
The big one right off the get go is that it's a dirty job. We hear that all the time, like, oh, yeah, I love that guy that's all about dirty jobs. This fits right in. There's a component of it that it's a dirty job,
Mm.
but it's not what our owners are doing. For our owners, this is about trying to build a fleet of trucks and managing a support team that's going to do the operations for you. So I think from the number one piece that I talk about, and let me be real clear, like, we always talk about make sure we require spousal support because this is a little bit different. If you're sitting at the country club, not everyone has the excitement about saying, yeah, my wife owns a pet waste removal or my husband owns a pet waste removal business. Like there is a stigma that comes with it. So
Yep.
you have to have a sense of humor with this. But for sure, I think that's one of the big ones. The other one that I would say is that it's a dangerous occupation because of dealing with pets. So I
Yeah.
think one of the things that our operations team, with their experience, has just done a remarkable job of is to create an operating system that's just incredibly safe. So there are so many checks and balances to make sure that your employees are protected. And if we follow the systems, we should continue doing things the right way so that I think when people see the insurance expenses, they're extremely pleasantly surprised
That's
with
great.
how low those costs are. And it's because of the strong history we have with safety.
That's great. What's some ways people have scaled that have surprised you in terms of
Yeah. Local involvement with pet rescues. So, you think about it, and through the social mission, especially with some of these younger generations, having a social mission is just so important. And as they've worked, and it doesn't have to be with pet rescues. We have one franchise owner who's really, they've started a network where every Saturday morning they pick a different trail that are dog friendly, and they go
yeah.
and they walk the trail and they clean up along it. And then in doing so, they're building a network of other dog lovers who enjoy hiking. And next thing you
Mhm.
know, you quickly see, well, boy, there's a demand here. We need more pet waste stations. Well, boy, you know who does that? Me. No
Yeah.
different with like the pet rescues, where anyone that comes in and they're rescuing a pet, if we have a relationship there, well, here's an incentive. You get the welcome kit to pet ownership and introduction to Pet Butler. And maybe we even did a video introducing the dog. We did one not too long ago. It was a three-legged dog that they weren't able to adopt out. And we did this Facebook Live video. And next thing you see is people are
Oh,
going, oh, that dog still plays and it runs around and it's fetching and it's doing all this stuff. And it is a little different. Well, that's kind of cool. And next thing you know, they had multiple people competing to adopt this dog. And we kind of smile like, boy, that feels really good. Well, guess what?
yeah.
That person's also a customer now. So,
Yes. Yes.
those are the things locally that, in terms of scaling, really work. And then the other piece, as you get bigger, that commercial element, and we haven't perfected it by any stretch, but you can find one property manager that may have a whole portfolio of properties, and they would much rather not have to cut 20 checks. But if you look, having the amenity of a pet green space is a huge differentiator today for property managers, as opposed to pets are not allowed, because again, there's so many dog owners specifically. So if you could start tapping into some of those things as well, you could find exponential growth in those markets.
Excellent. Okay. And what excites you the most about the future of Pet Butler?
Yeah, well, we've taken something that was traditionally a Monday through Friday revenue stream, and by bolting into pet care, this is now a 365-day a year revenue stream opportunity. So, as an owner, on the holidays, you're going to have employees, hopefully, who would rather spend time with pets than with people. That's reality. And they're going to make more tips. And they,
Yeah.
if structured well,
Yeah.
that to them, they would rather be providing services because they don't have the big families. Well, as
Yep.
the owner, you're making money. And so I think from where I'm sitting, the ability to have created a business that can generate revenue 24 hours a day, 365 days a year is
Hmm.
kind of cool and exciting. And then having the name Pet Butler means that there's still opportunities to bolt into additional revenue streams and provide more value for the customer, where it's not just these services. What are other things that we can offer that the customer will appreciate, and that will continue to develop an even stronger bottom line for that franchise owner?
Fantastic.
We also know some of those that we've tested that we're like, yeah, we're never doing that. That labor's awful, or it's too
Yeah.
skilled of a labor. And so we've been able to structure ourselves in a way that we could still partner with those people in the community because they're not interested in doing what we're doing. And that's fun too. The pet industry is a fun little industry. You get to know everyone pretty quick.
I imagine. I imagine so. Anything else that you'd like to bring up about this opportunity?
Yeah. I think from where we're sitting today, we've only got 42 franchise owners out there. The
Hmm.
way we envision our territories, though, is maybe unique compared to others. I've hit on it a couple times. We're not as enthused about owner operators unless
Right.
they have another revenue stream, whether it's retirement or mom and dad own the business and it's a second generation running it, things like that. There are territories all over the country pretty much still available. And that, from where we're sitting, that part's really exciting for us because we are looking for partners who want to, we'd rather have fewer captains in markets steering the ship than a
Yeah,
lot of little business owners.
for
So
sure.
we've done it in a way that they don't have to start with everything, they can develop into it. But the vision should be owning a fleet of trucks and building a support team, providing multiple services, not the owner operator model.
Gotcha. Okay. Excellent. No, this is very informative. I really appreciate your time. Glad you
Well,
could
I
join.
really appreciate you having me. So this
Yeah.
is great.
All right. Thanks again, Mark.
Thank you. You have a great day, Laura.
You too.